Well, hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Wicked Connected. Today's episode's title is Networking with Strings Attached, Insights from a Commercial Realtor and Puppeteer. And we have Adam Schertzer as our guest today. And he is, in fact, both a commercial realtor and a puppeteer. So we can't wait to hear more about that and more about the puppets. But before we dive in, Adam, we always like to start off asking people what's one cool networking event that you've been to recently?
Sure. Yeah, last week I went to a wine and coffee tasting at the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. One of the members, Dot Richards, has a wine and coffee business. So she brought a couple bottles of wine for us to taste and a couple of different coffees, cold brew and hot as well.
Steven sounds like a connection. You're introduced Steven as a wine guy, so
yeah. Well, it's funny, right? Because of course, in our chamber there are those who have liquor stores or wine stores, those sort of things. But yeah, not as many events like that. So I like it.
We like the coffee duo too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was nice. I started off with wine and then switched to coffee, and there were some desserts as well. And so
I'm trying to think that through. Like, is it like, do you want to caffeinate the people first so they have more energy to drink more wine, or do you want to like basically use the coffee?
Yeah, it's like a Four Loko, but like classy.
That's really cool. Well, Adam, that sounds like a very cool event. So we'd love to hear. Can you just maybe start off by telling us a little bit about what you do? And we're really fascinated to understand how you became a commercial realtor and then where the puppets fit in. So
sure. Yeah, I'll sort of kind of tie it all in there. So what I do is I do leasing and sales of commercial property. So pretty much what that means, I help people on the buyer or the tenant side. So if there's an individual or a business looking for space to lease, I help them find the space, help negotiate the contract, pretty much everything up to them signing the papers to get the space. If, on the other side of it, if there's an owner that has a building or a strip mall or something like that, that they need to find a tenant for, that's something that they can hire us to do. We put out all the listings, do some marketing, make calls to different businesses we think might be interested, and try to find a tenant for that space, as well as if they have a commercial property for sale, we would do the same with that as well. So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell there.
Awesome. You just skipped the puppets though. So how did the puppets?
So let me go back. So
I didn't know about the puppets.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. The real estate.
The real estate is exciting, but
I know. And you probably don't meet many people that are puppeteers or do commercial real estate and puppeteering on the side. So let me go back about 5 years. I was working for a software company, doing support and communications, and COVID hit. So this was probably May of 2020. One of the projects I was working on was to inform about 2,000 support engineers about a new product that was coming out for them to use internally. And what I'd seen done before, whether it be emails or people make slides, do stuff like that, I was thinking that I could be a little bit more creative. And I've always had an interest in making videos. So I thought to myself, I was like, all right, I can make a video, whether it be, myself or someone sitting at a computer, is kind of one of those, maybe like an infomercial thing. It's like, this is the old way to do it. And, you see someone banging their head on the computer. It's like, here's the new way to do it, and showing the features. But I've never been really one to be in front of the camera. So being home, my options were pretty limited, whether it be my, kids who were fairly young or my wife, and they didn't have any interest in being in a work video. And I happened to be sitting at my desk under the stairs. I used to call it my Harry Potter desk. Because of course, when the COVID first started, everyone's like, oh, it's just going to be, temporary. Right. So I didn't think I needed like an office space at home or anything like that. So I had this old desk, this horrible wooden chair, sitting in this hallway, and I look up to the right, and my wife has a craft room, and on the top shelf in the craft room there was this puppet that we had for about 12, 13 years or so. And, he looked like someone who would work at a software company. Glasses, balding, the typical, software nerd type person. And I was like, I can use him. This is perfect. So I decided to create a video, using him as the talent and filming him at the computer. And he didn't talk at the time. It was just like a voiceover. And it kind of grew from there. I was a little hesitant about putting this out. What would people think, at a big, billion-dollar software company, where they've probably never seen puppets used in communications before. But the initial response I got from people in the company was really positive. If anything, I didn't get any negative responses, which was great. People either loved it or just didn't care. So it kind of grew from there. I started using him in other videos for work. He started showing up, live, similar like this. We had a monthly, podcast type thing. So he would show up and give information. And then it wasn't until I think it was the following, so about a year later, I got together with my brother-in-law, who also had a similar type puppet. And we're like, let's just record some stuff. Let's see, what we can come up with. We just kind of improv. And I think we did some videos about the holidays or something like that. And then we started putting more stuff out on YouTube. And, at first it's pretty much just for us. We're just having a really good time with it.
Yeah.
And it's grown into me doing, showing up weekly at the Chelmsford Public Library on PJ Storytime. At first, during COVID, it was all online. So, it would be on Facebook Live. I would be there with my puppet, and then next, there were a librarian there. So the two of them, interacting. And then now we do it in person. And I've also been able to have puppet making workshops with the puppets, where we do like a puppet show, and then we make sock puppets, and that's been a lot of fun. So it's something I've continued to do. It's kind of grown and evolved from just me at my computer 4 years ago to where it is today.
So it's funny because go ahead, Stephen.
No, I was just going to say the sock puppet thing. So is that for children, adults, all of the above, or what's the?
Technically for children, but my sister actually came to the last one we had at the library, and she made one herself. So it's geared towards kids, but adults are more than welcome.
I'm always thinking about those innovative things to add with the wine. I think wine making and puppet making could definitely be some sort of collaboration that could be a draw.
I feel like wine and puppet is like a thing. I mean,
it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it is.
Oops, sorry. I just have a quick question about puppets and commercial real estate. Have you found a way to blend those together to help get more attention to your business? I
have not yet.
Business development.
No. And I think there's part of me is like, not sure how to do that,
Fair.
I don't want to make it too funny, but, also it could be, it could work, whether it be like a video or something like that, but
I'm sure it'll come to you though, because I think with your previous position, I think it's really creative to think, in the way that you did, especially during COVID, right? When everyone's being, it's virtual, people are being presented or talked to in the same manner. And not for nothing, I think we all needed a little bit of excitement or just a change up during that time. So I'm sure, especially that time of everything, it was really well recepted. But then also you saw a gap on how things are communicated. That was a clear solution and obviously was great. So you never know with real estate. Maybe I agree on like timing and having it actually be a fit, but who's to say? Could actually work out.
Yeah. I'm like envisioning commercials for your commercial real estate buildings with the puppets, or like tours of buildings with puppets. I just feel like that would be so fun. It would be like, normally I would feel like I would be bored watching a tour of a building, but if you had a puppet showing me around, it's like,
oh yeah.
Nothing real estate is, it's competitive. So anything to kind of give you that edge, and not for nothing. So I know we were talking about jazz as well with your background, but I love, especially professional conversations with business, there's hobby talk. So I'm sure that either puppeteering or jazz or I know we're going to get into it probably in a moment, but the different chambers you're a part of and events you go to, those are all really great, just talking points and adding to who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And it, to that, I mean, it is something fun, like if you have those icebreaker moments, or, you go, oh, what's something interesting about yourself? And I used to have a hard time coming up with those things. And now it's like, now my puppeting is like the go-to, because usually not many people have that one. And that one's more interesting than like I collect pet rocks or something like that, which I don't, but.
We all had that phase.
So I know you have Norm sitting next to you there, but I'd love to maybe bring him on for a second. But I think that I could imagine that, he could be, like I could imagine like a whole like LinkedIn, video series where you're talking like, how do you make, commercial not necessarily like when you're advertising for your clients, but I could imagine you taking him and using him as a, like, this is what I talk about commercial real estate. I mean, it would almost be like, take what you did in the software company, but do it for commercial realtors. Cause I don't know. I mean, I hope it won't offend you when I say I'm not sure everybody thinks that commercial realty sounds like, something that is fun and exciting and whatever. And so how do you sort of take that and change that dynamic? Anyway.
I mean, to your point, when I was doing the software, I mean, a lot of it is like dry and boring. It's like, here's a product that you can do this with, and it might increase your productivity 23% or something. And so if you can have it presented to you in a more fun way, then you're more likely to pay attention and maybe even use it. So.
Well, I mean, think about like, Geico and Aflac Duck and in the insurance world, right? Like they create characters, because like, what else we're going to talk about?
Exactly. Right. Insurance is boring.
And this is such an interesting time in real estate and commercial real estate as well. I'm sure I'd love to hear kind of back in a little bit of a serious topic, I guess, just some things in the industry. I know Taylor obviously is a little bit in the industry as well, but we talk about like how many people are just talking about the empty buildings going on right now. So that's another thing where I'm like, there's so much information I feel like you have that would be really interesting to see different ways to deliver it.
If you could also just add to Adam on top of that, like how you made the switch, because software to real estate is very different. So I'm just intrigued, what made you jump industries?
Yeah, I'll start with that first. So I had got my real estate license about 8 years ago. We were getting acquired by a larger software company. I was kind of saw the writing on the wall that maybe, they wouldn't need us anymore. I had a good friend at work who was doing real estate part-time, and he told me, the steps to go about, taking classes and then going to pass the exam. And it was a fairly minimal like time and money investment. And I always had an interest in residential real estate, whether it watching like HGTV and house flippers and all that stuff. And, my grandfather had real estate. He had some apartment buildings in Brookline way long ago. So there's always been some interest in real estate. So I went and got my license. At around the same time, I ended up transitioning to a different position in the company, which didn't give me as much time to do real estate. But I always kept the license active just in case something was to happen, if I changed jobs or got laid off. And then I got laid off. So that was it's going to be 2 years this February. So when that happened, definitely, shock, surprised. I'd been at the same company for 22 years and kind of figured that, in my mid 40s, I was like, all right, it's going to be another 20 years at the same company. And I was content. I wouldn't say I was happy, but, the pay was good. Benefits were good. So I was just kind of, going along through the motions. So then when I got laid off, I know I didn't want to sit at a desk, be in the same type of position anymore with another company. So having the real estate license, I called up a good friend of mine who has a commercial real estate company. We've been friends since we were about 5 years old. So about 40 plus years. And he started his own company. I think it's going to be about 5 years ago now. And he'd been doing it by himself. He originally started working for his dad's company for a couple of years and then went on his own. And we'd kept in touch pretty close over the years. And I'd seen him, he was starting to get busier. He had talked about possibly bringing someone on. So I said, I'm like, can you teach me the business? Can I come in and learn from you? Do you have enough work for me? And, the main concern for me, and I think him too, was just we didn't want work to ruin our friendship. But I think because we were so close, practically, closest thing to a brother that I have, that we were able to make it work. And, setting up, clear guidelines on how financials would work and how we, split things and things like that. And a year in, it's been great. He's been a great mentor. I'm glad he's taken the time to teach me, get me up to speed, get me started with some leads. I think it was great for him to be able to kind of tell me what he did in the beginning that didn't work and what worked, to kind of get me going faster than he did when he started. And so that's how I ended up in commercial real estate. And a year later, I'm still there.
So I'd love to hear, obviously, the networking you do when you're working at a big software corporation versus when you are doing commercial real estate is probably different. So was that a sort of a learning curve for you, or were you always somebody who, was out networking, or has that been just a big change?
I'd say before this, there was no networking.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So that whole part of it, I knew there'd be part of networking. And it's funny because I always used to consider myself an introvert and like a shy person. And like growing up in like high school and even college, like, wasn't too outspoken, just kind of went by and was afraid to, meet new people, things like that. So then when this came up and I'm like, all right, I have to go to these events where I don't know anyone, I have to just walk up to people, introduce myself. It definitely in the beginning, it was a little tough. But I found that the more I did it, and also the more I did the job, I felt a lot more comfortable. I think, I think a lot of people in the beginning, when they start a new job, you have that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It's like, someone asked me what I do. I say, oh, I do in commercial real estate. They're like, oh, what are you working on? What do you do? I'd be like, nothing. Like, how long you been doing it? I swear, I think there was, networking stuff I went to in my first month, and they're like, oh, how long you been doing it? I'm like, 3 weeks. But I guess that, in that sense, it's kind of, fun to have that talk about, because then it leads into, oh, what did you do before? And then, I can talk about previous job and transition and things like that. But I found now I'm at the point where, I've had a handful of deals that I've done over the year and working with different clients and interesting stories. And that's just a year in with all this stuff I have to talk about. So it's made the networking part of it a lot easier, something I look forward to doing now. Especially with some of these fun events too, like, whether it be the wine tasting or going out to lunch or something like that, so.
Do you think that has the puppetry had any impact on your networking? I know I'm like obsessed with the puppet, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, there's definitely been, I think the puppeting's kind of helped me come out of my shell.
Yeah.
I always kind of tell people the puppets have their own personalities, even though it is me. I can do the puppets, and they have their own voices, their own personalities. And I find that I can say things through the puppets that I wouldn't normally say.
Interesting.
I kind of think somehow it's like, like I go to like the cartoon, like South Park, some of the stuff that like South Park does, if a person was saying it, like they probably would have been canceled like 15 years ago or things like that. But since they're cartoons, they can get away with saying things. I'm not saying, my puppets are crazy, but they tend to speak their mind. They go on rants sometimes. And, it makes me think of, therapists that use puppets for kids where, you can give the kid a puppet so maybe they can talk about their feelings or emotions because the puppet's doing it. So it's not actually them.
Right.
So in a sense too, maybe these puppets is like a form of therapy for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say also like it's a sense of creativity, right, and repetition. So do you feel like going to these different interesting events where maybe there's a topic or you're doing something, do you feel like those are a little bit easier in the sense of weaning yourself into networking, at least at the beginning? And I know you mentioned that going to more, becoming more of an SME, that was really helpful. But yeah, do you think it was like the type of events? Do you think like you were doing anything specific to gear it to be more comfortable and get your feet wet in the industry?
I think in the beginning, I felt a lot more comfortable if I knew at least one person there. So if there was someone that I met and they're like, oh, come to this event, then if I knew they were going to be there, then I could be like, okay, I'm going to see them. And then they could introduce me to other people. And then from there. So I feel like anyone getting into networking in the beginning, if you can find like one person to either go with, or that's going to be there that I think that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Do you have any networking? Like, what's your favorite networking story? Because you've been doing it now for about a year. Is there anything that you're like, wow, I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I got into this because I met this person or I got this opportunity or, I've just expanded my horizons in whatever way.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the most consistent networking things I've done is BNI.
Yeah.
So I ended up trying a few different chapters kind of early on. Ended up joining one that's virtual, just because it fit easier with having kids and getting them off to school.
Yeah.
Most of them meet 7:00 in person, which is super early anyways. And we meet at 8:00 online. So timing wise worked out well. And I think just the consistency of meeting with these same people every week and then getting to know them outside and meeting up for coffee and doing different social events. That's definitely given me a lot more confidence in meeting new people. Every week you go there and you give your like 60-second pitch on what you're looking for, talk about your business, kind of, like your elevator pitch. So in the beginning, I had stuff written down. I felt like I was almost reading it. And now I've gotten to the point where, I can just come up with stuff off the top of my head. And same thing, I feel like that translates well to going to the, an in-person networking event, whether it be a chamber or something like that, when, people are going to ask you, oh, what do you do? And then, I can say kind of short and concise without, being rambling on or saying lots of different things. And so I feel like being in that BNI has helped that aspect of it. It's also given me some good leads. One in specific, was actually from the same woman that did the wine event last week.
Oh.
She introduced me to a woman who was looking to open up a cat cafe. And
is this the one in Beacon Hill?
No, it's in Lowell.
Oh, Lowell, very nice. Okay, I'll have to go.
So I was excited when I got that opportunity because I have 3 cats and a dog, and I had been to one in Brooklyn many years ago. And so she connected me with this woman. We started talking. She had been looking for a cat cafe for a few years. She wanted to stay in Lowell. And we went to go see one property. It wasn't a great fit. But then the realtor who had that listing had just worked with someone to purchase a building in Lowell that had a former bar lounge space in it. And he's like, oh, I think this could be a great fit. So by doing that, working with me, going in to see that one space, getting to know the realtor, then he was able to get us into a space before it even became available on the market. And long story short, she should be opening up end of this year, beginning of next year.
I'm going to have to check it out as a fellow cat lover.
So to give a shout out, it's the Lazy Cat Lounge. And it's on, I think it's 169 Merrimack Street in Lowell.
Okay.
It's right in downtown Lowell.
Cool. So is this only that person's cat, or their cats invited? How does that work?
You can't bring a cat. Putting 2 cats together usually doesn't work out too well. So she's been fostering cats for, I think, about 20 years or so. So just having cats in her house from different shelters and organizations. So I think it kind of grew out of that figured she could have a business with it.
Yeah.
I was trying to parallel that to like dog friendly, right? Which is pretty straightforward. You have them on leashes, but I don't.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
No,
but that's
Oops, sorry. I was gonna just say a lot of these cat cafes are ways to adopt cats as well.
Yes,
So
that's how we have 2 cats. I always tell people
Mhm.
my limit on cats is 0, but for some reason we have 2. I'm not a cat person, but we have 2 cats, and they came through a cat cafe in Nashville. So
Okay.
cat cafes are
they work. See,
like,
work.
My
Yeah.
sister in Southern New Hampshire, she will be going to that. So I'll make sure to keep her posted.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of it. It's a great thing to talk about when I meet people in the area.
Yeah.
When I've been visiting different networking groups and stuff, and talking about like, oh, what are some of your clients? And I can talk about. I don't know, I worked with a church, a martial arts studio, which I mean, in those sense are kind of, fun as well. But then once I mentioned cat cafe, everyone's like, cat cafe. And same type of question. You get the questions like, can I bring my cat? What do you do? What do you do there? What is it? So I don't think that people have really, seen them before. I know there was one that recently opened in, I think in Boston or Brookline.
yeah.
And I think there's one up in New Hampshire as well. It might be the closest. Yeah, it's exciting to help someone, find a space for their business, kind of their dream. And I think that's one of the things I really get out of doing commercial real estate that I didn't think about going into it. And back to your question, Amelia, about these like large office buildings, and you definitely see a lot of that post-COVID. You have these office buildings that maybe had, 20, 30,000 square feet that, now with people working at home, they just don't need that space anymore.
Yeah.
And I've been to a lot of open houses that they have for these offices. They have broker open houses where they, invite a bunch of different commercial real estate brokers in. They usually give you lunch, usually some type of gift or something like that, whether it be a gift card or something. So, it's been fun to go to, and you meet some other brokers there, and then, the hopes that you might know someone or have a client that's interested in their space. But there are a lot of open spaces like that. And I think when I went into commercial real estate, I thought it was going to be more like that, more just like office building stuff, which wasn't that interesting. So then when I started doing this, one of the first clients I worked with was a landscaper. I helped him purchase a piece of property in New Hampshire. I started working with a company that designs escape rooms.
Oh, that's fun.
So that was kind of neat. So I don't know if you guys have been to Bodeborg or
Oh,
Level
yeah.
99. So they had worked with those places to kind of, build out the different escape rooms for them. So, and now, cat cafes. And so it's a lot of fun just, finding out about people's businesses and trying to help them either grow their business or start their business, and to be part of that.
Yeah, I guess selfishly, Adam, I'm thinking about, one of the things I do is custom labels, and I'm just thinking about what that label would look like for the cat cafe as a thank you gift for, but just an idea. But
wine, cats, puppets.
Everything goes with wine.
Everything goes with wine. Well, we are, as always, flying through our time, but before we switch to asking people what events are coming up, can Norm make a quick appearance?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, this is Norm. He's the one that started it all. So he was here typing at his computer and getting upset with software. I'll give him the stage here. So, if you guys want to talk to him, you can go ahead.
Norm, go ahead.
I was going to ask Norm if he's going to any cool networking events this week.
Let me think. Actually, tomorrow night, the Lowell Chamber of Commerce is having an event at Taffeta Music Hall, which is in Lowell. It's a small music venue. I saw a concert there, actually a jazz concert. Saw a jazz trumpetist from, where was he from? Japan. I think I went there last year. Pretty cool. It's actually right near the same plaza as Navigation Brewing Company, if anyone's been there. And they have an event there from 4 to 6 tomorrow. So,
awesome.
Planning to show up, do a little networking, see what's going on, have some food, a drink, listen to some music.
Are you going to bring Adam, Norm?
Let me ask. You want to go? No, I actually can't go, Norm. I'm busy. Oh, he can't make it, so I guess I'll be showing up myself.
Can't wait.
I don't know how I'm going to get there, but we'll figure it out.
Uber.
Maybe if you ask nicely, Adam will Uber you there.
Yeah, maybe he'll drop me off.
He'll drop you off.
Mhm.
That's so awesome. Well, that's amazing. Norm, so great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
So nice to meet you.
So what do
Nice
you,
to
what
meet
do
you
you guys do? You just like talk to people in boxes all day?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we
pretty much.
Basically.
do. Yeah.
That's good. You get paid for this?
This,
This? No.
Someday.
Not yet.
Not yet.
All
Who
the
are
time.
the sponsors? Is this sponsored by anyone?
Not yet. Do you want to
But
sponsor
do
us?
you know
Feel free.
anyone? that
We could
wants-
use some sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out of sponsors. I can ask around though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let us know.
Check with
Let us
Microsoft.
know.
What about wine? Steven, can't you get some wine sponsors?
Well, we might have to look into that. I think so.
Yeah. What about like Boone's Farm?
There we go.
You made me.
Are they still around?
I think I'm going to be sick.
anyway, this has been super fun. Norm, so great to meet you. Adam,
Yeah.
If you want to pop back on, where is the best place for people to reach out to you?
Best way to reach me is probably by email at adam@jmj.cre.com. Hey, look at that. It's right there.
And there
Yeah.
it is. It's there.
Magic. It's magic.
And as always, we'll just go around and see what other events everybody else is going to this week. So Adam, I don't know if you if the Lowell event was your event or if you have another one in mind, but
That was trying to start that trend, and
Yeah, that's the event. I know there's also the Coffee Connect for the Charles River Chamber of Commerce this Friday at 8:30 at a
Fly
pole
Together.
dancing. What's the
Fly
name
Together.
of that?
fly together.
Fly Together.
It's
Interesting.
a fitness. Yeah, it's pretty. Should be an interesting
Yeah.
interesting place. I've met the owners a couple times, and they're awesome people. So it should be a really interesting one.
Very cool. Taylor.
Yes, I have a women in commercial real estate event Wednesday night, and then I have a nonprofit Courageous Sailing. They are having their gala on Thursday, so get to go to that, which will be really pretty and nice. What about you, Amelia?
I will be going to the FEI event tomorrow, so I'm really excited. So it will be Diwali. Sorry, I always say that one wrong. Diwali celebration, and there'll be a panel on DE&I, which I'm really excited about because while I was in my previous role at Insperity, our DEI consultant Amy Flynn is going to be on the panel, so I'm really excited to go and support her and listen because 3.5 years of working with her, she never ceased to stop impressing me when we got on calls and people would ask a question and she would just kind of get right to the point and give them such a good answer. And it would honestly leave people speechless sometimes about how good she was at just getting right to the root of the issue and be like, and sometimes it was so simple. So I'm really excited to hear what she has to say on the panel. And Thursday I will be at Venture Cafe, which I'm excited about because last week I was scrolling through my Instagram and a high school friend was actually at Venture Cafe. So I messaged him and was like, I can't believe we missed each other. And I guess there was a couple other kids from high school there. So I'm hoping gonna run into a couple of them next week.
That's a reunion.
Yeah, I didn't go to our reunion. Actually, it was during COVID, so I couldn't go anyway. And then we just really haven't had another one since. But I'm excited to kind of get an update on where a lot of them and where they are in their careers. So
Awesome.
Very cool.
Very
yeah.
cool.
What about you, Steven? I forgot to pass the torch over to you for a second.
Yeah, I think. Well, this week there's an interesting one on Wednesday that's sponsored by Crow and Portal Innovations. So that should be really, really interesting. It's called the Portal Point or Portal Pores. Portal Pores. That's what it was. I was looking at my notes. And then actually on Thursday, I'm doing a paid event for a law firm where I'm the som of the evening. So that should be. Yeah, there's always networking and everything, but that's going to be a fun one more than anything. So there's some really cool stuff there. It's basically an alumni network for the law firm. So kind of bringing together the corporate and the wine thing together, which is always fun. And unfortunately, Taylor, I can't make the Courageous Sailing event because of that. Although I may try to sneak over. We'll see if we'll see if it's doable. I may say come over and say hi to Dave and the team. But yeah, I think those are some of the big ones this week. Last week we had a really cool one, right, Jeff? Though with Connects, that was a lot of fun. I think we mentioned it before. Jeff and I were actually on a panel and talking about some of the things preparing for year end. So check out some of those things on LinkedIn. There's some pretty cool snippets, and I think more to come also for like company tips around preparing for year end, inventory levels, all the kind of things that you should be thinking about as a company, especially e-commerce going towards year end.
Absolutely. And I will finish up. I actually have sort of fallen down on the job in terms of networking events this week because I was doing so many last week. But I was sent a message a couple of days ago about a cool event that's happening tomorrow for anybody that might be interested. It's for the Massachusetts chapter of the Association for Women in Science, AWIS. And they have their annual open house tomorrow, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Koch Institute at MIT. And let me see if I had up here, there is a speaker, Dr. Jill Goldstein, and it sounds like it's going to be a great event. And so if anybody is interested in that event, they should check it out. And I probably need to get my act together and figure out what networking I'm going to do this week. So
you can join me at Venture Cafe.
Yeah, I was
We've
thinking
been talking about that.
Yeah.
Or the Friday Coffee Connect.
Yeah, well, that one I just totally just wasn't paying attention because I've been to so many chamber. I've gotten to the point now with the chamber, to Adam's point earlier, I've gotten to the point now with the chamber that they know me, like the chamber people know me, so they say hello, and I can't seem to get to an event without bumping into people that I know. So that just, I feel like about a year in,
Right.
I've arrived. I know.
It's so fun when you finally and you've been going to enough events where you start to go to random events and you're like, hey, I know you and I know you. And it's just like you've created this spider web of people throughout,
Absolutely.
I guess the greater Boston area. And
that's our goal, right?
Yeah.
I think it took about a year for me, and I started experiencing that too.
Yeah.
Where I meet someone and that someone knows someone, just like the 1 degree of separation or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked when I started getting reintroduced to people that I already knew. And I was like, oh my God, I've made it. The circle is circle is complete. And now I feel like I just need to make my circle even bigger, which I'm excited to do.
Well, it was pretty fun last week when 3 out of the 4 of the Wicked Connected folks ended up at Eisner. Which also equally funny was the kind of reunion for Taylor and Eisner, given that we had done their event there before too. So it is fun when everything really does that full circle.
Absolutely.
Also, thank you to Eisner for that massive cup as an thank you gift for coming. Just had to say thank you.
Massive cup. Okay.
It is
it's literally massive cup.
Oh, yes.
It's like
it's awesome. It's really nice.
It's like a super super nice travel cup.
Yeah,
I'll stay hydrated all day.
I'll send this over the Stanley thing anytime.
Anyway, this has been awesome. Adam and Norm, thank you both for joining us. This has been absolutely terrific, and really appreciate it. And we will see folks next week.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Norm.